Okay guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to the video. Once again, I'm coming at you from the editing couch here where I'm editing a bunch of the clips I did of the fuel system upgrade from last week. So this is going to be the third and final part of the fuel system upgrade video. Enjoy. Okay, so I got the first hose end connected here. I went ahead and assembled one hose end right here and routed it down where it's going to go. And that's how that's going to look inside the tank. Anyway, as for now, fuel line has begun, so it's just loose. I'll tighten it later, of course, but looking good. Now it's time to raise the car up, get underneath it, and start routing the line and figuring out where the fuel filter is going to go. Okay, so I've got the fuel line coming down here, and I've got it all coiled up right here for now. And it is time to figure out where to mount the humongous fuel filter. So just to give you a frame of reference on how big this thing is, this is the old fuel filter, and that's the fuel filter element that was inside the Holley fuel filter, and this is the fuel filter that I'm going to be running. So this thing is huge. I actually might try to find one shorter if they sell them that way, because this length right here is becoming a problem for getting this thing mounted underneath the car. But I have a plan, and I want to show you that right now. So I originally was going to mount it right here, and this was going to be super sick. I was going to stick it right on the transmission cross member, and it was going to mount just like this, but with straight fittings coming out of it, front and back. Actually, it was going to be just like this, with straights in and out instead of those 45s, and that was going to be super awesome, easy to fabricate, and perfect space for it. But then I realized, you know what? If I ever break my drive shaft or break this yoke or anything back here splits and comes open and starts flapping around, which is pretty common, all it's got to do is hit this filter element and just barely nick it, and I could have a fire and the whole car could burn down, just that easy. So I thought, you know what, that ain't gonna work. Obviously don't want that kind of fire hazard on a car that you're trying to really, launch as hard as you possibly can and make as much power as you possibly can. The drive shaft could definitely break. So the plan now is to mount it right here in this area, and there's just enough room to do it. I think it'll fit right there, about like that, and the 45s coming in and out are going to be perfect for the fuel lines. The problem is the filter itself is so long that it kind of hangs down a little bit too low, but if I can just get a shorter filter, maybe half that length, everything will be fine. It'll fit in there just fine. There'll be no ground clearance issues whatsoever, and we'll be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and fabricate it out that way and get it mounted there, and then start searching for a shorter filter. And I think all that should work out just fine, and we'll be good to go. So the way I'm going to mount that thing is, it's got this mounting base on it right here with 3 holes in it, but I can't really get a drill up in there to drill my frame, to put some nutserts in the frame like I would like to. So I think I'm going to take this piece of steel and cut a chunk off of it right here, and then I'm going to mark where those 3 holes line up to the filter base. And then I'm going to put some all thread through it and weld it on the back side. Cut this off here, and then I'm going to weld this whole plate to my frame rail, and then I'll be able to take that filter base and just slide it over those 3 nutserts, or those 3 all thread pieces that are coming out there. And I think that's going to be the best solution, so I'm going to get started on that. Okay, so I got my little stud plate built here, and I think that's going to work out good. I just took some old long 10mm bolts and stuck them through some holes, and then ground off the heads and welded them down, grounded off the weld. So I think that's going to work, and this will just slide right on like this, and then 3 nuts will hold that on there, and that'll be plenty strong. And then I'll weld all the way around the edge, obviously, to get it in the chassis. So this will just be welded up to the car, right up. I guess I could just show you, it's right here. Be welded up right in this area somewhere, and that'll be my stud plate, and that'll work out good. I think that'll hold my fuel filter mount. So here is the final solution and the final arrangement for the fuel filter. Got the bracket built and welded to the frame with the 3 studs coming out of it. Never mind my crazy welds, they aren't that great, but it's gonna be just fine. It's not gonna go anywhere, as they say. So anyway, brackets done, welded to the frame, and the base is installed and tight, and I've made this line all the way back, and it goes all the way to the tank, and it's done. I've got to tape this up. This is the first hose end I've ever assembled with a PTFE line, and I kind of screwed up and ended up having to cut this back, so I'll just tape this so it doesn't fray. And then I have the other line just built here going up, and it goes up and curls around to the fuel rail up there. Still got to screw it in up top. But yep, that's going to be it for the fuel filter. Really happy with how this turned out. I was able to find this fuel filter. I got some help online from some guys who told me which number to get, but that is a 3107 Napa filter, and it's only about 4.5 inches long compared to this big boy here, which was like 7 or 8 inches long. So that's the difference in length. And if anybody's curious and is trying to do this one here is the 3405. The only difference between the two is the long one is a filter and a water separator for, I guess, diesel engines. You don't need a water separator on a gas engine at all, of course, so going shorter doesn't hurt anything. It just gets rid of the water separator feature in there, but it makes it way shorter, which worked out for my install. So it's now tucked up nice and tight. You can see that it sits above the trans cross member and above the trans pan, so ended up being the perfect location for the filter. I think it's going to be easy to service and out of the way, so that worked out good. Now it's just time to build the return line, and this part of the car project will be done. Okay, so first test of the fuel system didn't go awesome. We've got a bunch of leaks here, but it looks like they're all localized here into one spot all around the fuel filter base. I suspect it's all coming out of where the fitting screws into the base right there. It looks like. And I did not put any sealant on that at all, or Teflon or anything. I didn't even think about it. But now that I think about it, I think it probably needs that. Okay, update on the situation here. It's all back up. It's all back off the car and onto the bench. So I could not keep this thing from leaking no matter what I did. Basically all 4 of these, at least 2 or 3 of them, but I imagine all 4 were leaking. And I couldn't get it to stop, and I redid the Teflon tape and added more Teflon tape, and it still leaked. And so I got frustrated and went online and did some searching around and asking. And a lot of different people had a lot of different opinions on how to seal this stuff up. Some people said Teflon tape should have been fine. Some people say you need the yellow Teflon tape that has the PTFE in it. Some people said never use Teflon tape. Some people said use thread lockers similar to this, the red or the blue, which I thought was not a bad idea. And then some people said to use this product, which is Rector Seal number 5. So I went and grabbed some of this at Lowe's, and I think I'm going to try that. This stuff is super thick and sticky stuff. But it is rated. I went to their website and read their material safety sheet on it, or their product specification sheet on it, and it said it is rated for gasoline, and it is rated for E10 gasoline. It did not say E85, but I figured E10 is better than nothing, and it was available locally 10 minutes away, so I went and grabbed some. It's soft set and slow dry, so I don't really know how long I'm supposed to let it dry before I apply any fuel and pressure to it, but I'm going to give it at least 24 hours to just sit there. So that's what I'm going to try right now. I'm going to get some of that on there and see how it goes. Okay guys, so it's been sitting here for about, 24 hours or more, and this is how it looks right now. It's turned into a really soft putty. So I guess that's kind of how the stuff is. But I'm going to put it on the car and test it. Okay, so I just reinstalled the base, the filter, and all the fittings, and turned the key on and off a few times to prime the fuel pump and the whole system 2 or 3 different times in a row to make sure there's plenty of fuel getting everywhere. And I think we're good, guys. I think the Rector Seal stuff has fixed the problem. I see no leaks anywhere around any of these fittings. I have it sitting there for 2 or 3 minutes now, and no drips have developed. So I think we're good to go. I think that stuff did the job. I'm going to call that a win. I don't think there's any leaks happening up there. Yeah, I think everything's good. So I'm going to call the fuel system upgrade done. Need to throw a few zip ties on things down here, make sure the lines aren't hanging down. But yeah, that's it. I'm going to call it a wrap on the fuel system upgrade. It's time to take the car off the rack, get it out of the shop, and go test drive it, make sure things are okay, and do a few street pulls and do some data logs to make sure the fuel pressure is or isn't good. We want it to be good, of course. We're trying to do this so that the fuel pressure will be steady on the data logs and even all the time and not dropping and rising and falling and all that. So that was kind of the whole point of doing this. And also to have enough fuel to run more boost and more power this year than ran last year. So anyway, I think we're good to go on that. So I'm going to get the car down, but that's going to be in another video, and this is going to be it for this video right now, and I'll come back at you guys with the next one. And I'm not sure what we're going to do next on the car. I do have the intercooler over here that I borrowed from my buddy Mike. It's a 5-inch thick, big ol' On3 performance intercooler, so we might be trying to work on getting that to fit on the front of the car. Also, we might be diving into the turbo install. Haven't decided yet if I want to run that turbo yet, like right off the bat this season, or if I want to run for a while on the VS Racing 7875 that I already have installed. I'm kind of leaning towards just leaving the car as is right now and just getting out and using it and driving it. The track's going to be open before we know it. On the other hand, technically I've got enough time to do those installs, the turbo and the intercooler, probably before the track really is open. There's enough time, but I have other cars I want to work on, other videos I want to make for you guys. I've got the 300ZX project. Parts are starting to come in for that. The exhaust for that is right over there in that box, and then I have a clutch for that in that box right there, and I'm going to get coilovers and some other stuff. So I'm kind of itching to dive into the 300Z. So I may take this as an opportunity to just pause on the 240 project and just use it and get some data and get some drive time on it and catch up on some of the other projects. But I will let you know. But I appreciate you guys watching all these videos and subscribing. I really appreciate the subscriptions. Some of you guys know new YouTubers are always trying to get up to 1,000 subscribers. That's like the first goal you're always trying to get to, and it's a grind trying to get there sometimes. And I'm consistently getting subscribers every time I upload, and I thank you guys for that. I thank you all for subscribing to the channel, because that shows me that what I'm putting out is good content that you like watching. And also just thumbs up on the videos helps me, and comments down below helps me, just to know that I'm putting out stuff that you guys are interested in, and it kind of helps me guide the channel in a direction that gives you guys what you want and gives me what I want. So it works out good. So anyway, if you have any questions, let me know down below, and I will see you guys on the next one.